Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this month's webinar. Today we're going to be focusing on following up with cold leads. Now, depending on who you speak with, there are several different types of leads, but most people can agree that there are two main types. That's going to be cold leads and warm leads. Now, cold leads are individuals who have shown no initial interest in your product. This could be an individual you approach either out on the street or digitally without any prior introduction to either you or the company. Warm leads are individuals who have shown interest either via the website, emails, calls, or in-person communication. So when you're proceeding through with your sales pitch, it's very, very important to determine which type of lead you're actually dealing with. Now today we're going to focus on the cold leads. Now, there are several different ways to get cold leads or leads that you might consider cold. Whether you've actually approached them out on the street and they showed no real interest, reached out to them via email, or maybe were introduced to them by somebody else, a cold lead is going to be classified as anybody who either has shown no initial interest or has no information about your product. Now, following up with cold leads can be a little bit tricky. Depending on how that initial introduction went, for you to classify them as a cold lead is going to determine how you want to follow up. Now, as we've discussed in the past, during the initial conversation, you always want to get contact information if they're willing to give it to you. Now, this is going to go for anybody who you think might be interested later on, for somebody who you think might not actually be interested. If you can get that contact information, whether that's a phone number, an email address, or even a social media account that you can connect with them with, always do that. Now, it's important to notate next to these communication information that you get, whether you think this person is a cold lead or they might potentially be interested. You of course don't have to let them know what you're writing down, but just when you're writing down their contact information, just make yourself a quick little note to know exactly what their mentality was towards the product, how they acted, and if you think you might be able to close the deal with them later on down the line. Do not overwhelm during an initial follow-up with a cold lead. This is very, very, very important. So for example, say you speak with somebody that you just happen to meet out on the street. You did exchange contact information, but they were kind of cold and kind of rushed you off when you were trying to go over the program and how it benefits individuals. So for somebody like this, you would definitely classify them as a cold lead. You haven't really been able to give them a whole lot of information. Your first connection, they had no idea about the company or exactly what you were trying to pitch them. So for individuals who are cold leads, some good openings tend to be, "Hi, it's been 2 weeks since we initially spoke. I just wanted to check in to see if you had any questions or if there's anything I can help you with." Or, "Hi, I hope you're doing well. Have you had time to review the program? I'd be happy to mail you a free card today." Now, of course, you're going to want to tweak these depending on the exact situation. No two pitches are ever going to be the same. But some of the general rules that you want to follow, especially for cold leads, is to never overwhelm them. It would be incredibly easy to send an email saying, "Hi, customer. Here's the program information once again," and just completely bombard them with all of that. If they're not asking for it, don't give it to them. Still let them know that you're there and you're willing to help, and initially you just want to touch base with them to see how they're doing. Now, once you touch base with them and you get a reply, then you can follow up with providing them more information. You of course want to let them know who you are, who you're with, and what you're doing, but without just completely overwhelming them and in turn probably annoying them. Now, common responses from cold leads. Once again, no two pitches are ever going to be the same, as are no two individuals that you're speaking with after your initial introduction. Now, one of the most common responses from cold leads is going to be silence. Just for example, think of how many emails you might get on a daily basis advertising products, and you're not particularly annoyed by that. You're just not interested whatsoever, so you just delete them. This is going to happen a lot from cold leads. Typically, when you receive silence after your initial follow up again about 2 weeks, sending them just a little final note saying that you wish them well. Always be polite in your responses. Letting them know that if they have any questions, here's your contact information and to save it, and just leaving it at that. Do not contact them ever again after that, unless, of course, they reach back out to you. You do not want to annoy somebody or come off as just incredibly bothersome trying to get the product out to help individuals. That doesn't look good on you, and it certainly does not look good on the business. Another common response you might receive is, do not contact me again. Of course, some people might not be as polite as this. They may be a little bit more gruff, or maybe they're even more polite than saying this. But the most important thing is, do not take offense. They're just not interested. You know how great the program is. You know how much individuals can save on their prescriptions. But if they're not open to a conversation to learn about that for either themselves or their friends and family, that's perfectly fine. Just do not take offense. Kindly do let them know that you will not contact them again and wish them well. That leaves the conversation on a good note. So if further down the line they find themselves needing your services, they'll think back about how polite you were, and then they can always reach back out to you. Of course, ensure that you remove them from any contact list you may have. Always notate. If you keep a customer database or a lead database, always notate things that happen and situations that happen, responses you receive, and so on. If you use any kind of automated email software or text message things, just be sure that you remove them so they're not blasted with information over and over after they've already asked you not to contact them again. Once again, this is going to leave a bad taste in their mouth, so if they ever do need your services in the future, they're not going to reach back out to you because they found you to be either annoying or rude. Another response you might receive is not interested. Now, if these individuals seem open and they're not just incredibly cold or rude, just feel free to ask them why. Let them know that you don't want to be a bother to them, but if they could just take a few moments to maybe let you know why they weren't interested in the program, that would be greatly beneficial to you in your aid to help others save on their medications. At this point, you can always thank them for their time and leave your contact information with them again as well. If you're communicating via any written technology, whether that's text, social media, or emails, always include your signature that has your contact information. This is a non-in-your-face type method of getting them your contact information without being gruff about it necessarily. Now, cold leads can be a little bit tricky to navigate, but by using the proper communication, a proper attitude, you can actually turn cold leads into closed leads. For more information on cold leads, including different types of responses or methods that you can use to communicate with them, there is a plethora of information available on the internet. You can go and look for form letters, form emails, or even tips and tricks on how to properly handle cold leads. Thank you so much for joining us today as we discussed following up with cold leads. Thank you, everybody, for your dedication to the program and helping individuals save on their prescriptions. And as always, keep up the good work.